how amazing is it to get paid to do something that you love doing? Aligning with your unique brilliance is a strategic advice. I don't believe in just, waiting for money to come. I believe in being strategic, but using your unique brilliance is a strategy, because that's when you're not going to get tired of doing things and you're still going to get paid for it.
What is going on, Schmoozers? Welcome back to this week's episode of Schmoozing Time. For those of you that are new here, I'm David Cobby, and I am on a mission to share the stories of personal brands of many proud Jews. Before I introduce next week's guest, I'd love if everyone could take a second to double check that they've already subscribed to Schmoozing Time on whatever platform you're listening on. This helps me out tremendously and allows me to find amazing people like my next guest. Today, we have an extremely well-recognized leader in the world of Jewish entrepreneurship. She specializes in a niche that very few do, that being Jewish women in entrepreneurship. Through her efforts as the CEO of Born to Do Business and the founder of the Jewish Women Entrepreneurship and Leadership Network, she has found her passion for helping the next generation of great business leaders. She also is an international speaker, a podcast host, and of course, a very proud Jew. Please welcome to my show, Nathalie Garson. Nathalie, how are we doing today?
Hello, David. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. Sounds so exciting.
Well, thank you. I know you just mentioned to me, you're fresh off your podcast. You were just doing a podcast interview. So it's always good to have fellow podcasters come on the show and be a guest. And I am so excited to talk to you today, Nathalie, because of your experience working in the Jewish sphere of entrepreneurs, which I think is just absolutely amazing. It's such a small niche, especially the women aspect of it. Like, I love that. There definitely should. I don't know if there's a male equivalent of you that works with males, but before we get into the Jewish entrepreneur stuff, I want to go back in time to Nathalie. You were originally born in Paris.
Yes.
And you made Aliyah to Israel.
Yes.
Right? So my initial inclination is like, okay, Nathalie, born in Paris, right, which has correct me if I'm wrong, a pretty big Jewish population.
Yep.
But you had the inkling to move and make Aliyah. So I want to start things off by Nathalie. Give us a quick introduction of your background pre-entrepreneurship and why you decided to ultimately make Aliyah.
Sure. I love to start from there because, looking back, we realize that a lot of things start very early in life and we don't realize how much they're already designing who we're going to become. The more you advance, the more you realize that it's whole pieces of puzzles that are aligning. And so, yes, it all started with me being born in France. I did leave Paris at the age of 17 to move to New York, lived in the States for close to 10 years, then went back for a while to France and then made Aliyah. So we have a few stops before the Aliyah. And in the US, I lived in New York and in Los Angeles in the East Coast and the West Coast. So yes, I started young. I started at 17. So yeah, I did travel through those countries, and I made Aliyah 20 years ago to Jerusalem. So yes, it is quite a journey.
That's amazing. I mean, you just said all the big places that you could live, right? New York, Los Angeles, Jerusalem. Like, where haven't you been? That's absolutely amazing. And I think for somebody that's Jewish, right, traveling to all these places. I mean, they all have obviously very big Jewish populations. And I know you mentioned to me that you not only traveled physically, right, going all these places, but you also traveled spiritually in the sense that your Jewish faith progressed over the course of the time. So I want you to talk about what that was. How did your Jewish faith progress over the course of your travel and finding where you physically were? And how did that help you with your spiritual being and feeling Jewish?
Wow, that is an amazing question. Thank you for asking it. And I'll try to make it short because I can talk for a long time. But I will start with saying you said that Paris has a big Jewish population and that, yes, there are centers, Jewish centers, Paris, New York, Los Angeles, of course, Jerusalem. But I will say that it's different than being Jewish in France and being Jewish in the US. There is something about being Jewish in France where all minorities in France are looked upon differently than the mainstream French. So it's not only the Jews, there is something in the culture and in the society that is much more difficult to integrate as a minority. Whereas, well, in New York, it is a big minority being Jewish, but there is something also in the American culture, in the melting pot culture, that allows for Jews to really be themselves. And I think that, of course, Israel is the place where you feel that you can really be Jewish, but I think that close to that is really a second, very close is the U.S. And New York, of course, is a big place where you really feel at home as a Jew. So that was interesting to compare. And that was also the main reason for my making Aliyah, which was that I needed to feel 100% aligned with my Jewish identity and with who I was. And I didn't want to have to hide or to lie when I was taking days off for the holidays or when I was cleaning for Pesach and, on Sundays and the weekends. And my colleagues would not understand why I spent the whole day cleaning for Pesach. There was so many little things or not eating in the same place with them, but not being able to tell them why, because at the time I was observant. And so I think a lot of people get used to it when you live abroad. What I mean abroad is not in Israel. You get used to it because this is your life. But once you know how it is to live in Israel and to really be openly Jewish and be, your culture, the people you speak to, everyone knows when it's Shabbat. Everyone knows when it's a holiday. You don't have to justify it. This is something that was very, very important in something that I didn't know at the time, but now I call alignment. And I needed that. I didn't know I needed it. And I came to Israel, and that's when I understood that my Jewish identity was even more important than my religious observance, and that I was more a spiritual Jew that was connected to the history, to the culture, to the tradition, to the values, but that the Jewish religious observance was more a personal thing that I could or not do, but that was not related to my Jewish identity. And it's something that really helped me evolve as a spiritual Jew, where in my personal observance, there are some things I do, some things I don't, but it's really between me and God. But in my Jewish identity and my Jewish values, I feel very, very much connected to who we are as a people and being connected to that huge culture and history that I feel very, very proud of, which is actually one of the things that attracted me to your podcast, David. When you said being a proud Jew, I was like, yeah, that is something I want to be part of. So yeah, that's in a nutshell an answer to your question.
Well, thank you for that answer, Nathalie. And I want to go back to something that you said earlier and talking about being a spiritual Jew as opposed to, taking on certain practices like keeping Shabbat, whatever it is, right? I've said this multiple times on my podcast where people connect with different things about being Jewish, right? So for me personally, right, I am making the conscious choice not to keep Shabbat. Why? Because I'm a young 22-year-old who wants to go out and see the world and see my friends, and I was just in college. But the one thing that I really, really, really connect with on a spiritual level, and this has a physical element of it, is putting on tefillin. And just before this podcast, I put on tefillin, right? Because I have it's a Sunday. I have a crazy busy day. You're the first of 4 or 5 different meetings that I have. So today I woke up and Hashem, I need you to give me the strength to get through all these meetings and be able to have good conversations with all these people. And there's something so powerful about putting on tefillin for me. So, Nathalie, I want to ask you, on a spiritual level, what's something that you do to connect with God?
Wow, that is a very special question. And I think that your example of the tefillin is a very good example because it is such a personal connection. Some people do meditation, some people go swim, and if your way of connecting to yourself, because I believe that connecting to God is really connecting to the divine spark that we have inside us. And so I think that for me, the part of the Jewish tradition slash religion, call it, ritual, however you want to call it, is really the Friday night dinner of Shabbat. For me, it has been something that throughout my spiritual journey, wherever I am in the world, by the way, it could be that I'm I'm in a city where I'm in a hotel or I'm in a place where there's no Shabbat. And for me, marking that time of Friday night, of making kiddush wherever we are, of stopping with the phone, stopping with the everyday conversation. I actually started a tradition of my own with my kids when they were little, where we would talk about the up and downs of the week. And until today, they're not, they're older than you, so they're not that, they're young, but, we still do, we still have that tradition every Friday night. And everyone takes the time to share what is their ups and downs of the week. And for me, that is a connection to God, because I would never do that if God or, the Jewish ritual or religion or tradition would have not, give us the Shabbat. So I think it's a big gift. And I appreciated it more with time, because in the beginning it was more like, okay, this is something you have to do and you just do it. But then you realize that time is precious, family is precious, quality time with your family is precious. Cooking, taking the time to really make a nice meal, to have a nice table. This is and having it every week, because I think that other religions have this on Christmas, on Thanksgiving, but we have it every week. And so I think we're very lucky to have that. And that is something that really connects me to everything that's Jewish about me.
So that's a phenomenal answer. I think you're 100% right on. We as Jewish people are so lucky to have Shabbat. Like, thank God, right? We can have the equivalent of a Thanksgiving meal every Friday. It's actually like, when I was growing up, I didn't really appreciate it because I was in a place where I was so different from the rest of my peers. Even when I went to a Jewish day school, it was a community day school, I was maybe one of, 20, 30 kids that kept Shabbat. And that element of like really keeping Shabbat, it was hard for me. And I wrote about it in my college essay about how, just exactly how you described it, how Shabbat forces you to take the time to be connected with your family, be connected with God, and also rest. And it's such a beautiful concept that we as Jewish people get to do it every Friday.
Yeah.
And, some people look at it as like, oh my God, it is such a pain. And yeah, it is a pain to like get ready for Shabbat. Like, the amount of times that my mom or my grandmother, my dad or my grandfather, whatever, who would like hustling to get home for Shabbat, when Shabbat starts at 4 or 5 o'clock, it's like, yeah, it's a pain, but it's so worth it at the end of the day.
Yes.
And I know for somebody like you that's traveled so much, keeping Shabbat had to be hard, on the road, whether you're traveling for work, whether you're traveling from New York to California, to Israel, to Paris, that has to be hard. So I want to ask you, how did you manage to keep Shabbat or some version of Shabbat when you do your traveling?
So I have to say, you mentioned it earlier, but we haven't talked about it, that I was ultra-Orthodox from the age of 17 until, I don't have a specific date where it stopped, because it's always a journey and a progression. But it took a close to 10 years to fade out, I would say. And so Shabbat was very different when I was ultra-Orthodox than when I became a more, what I call a spiritual Jew. And also when I came to Israel 20 years ago. I think that Shabbat, when I was an ultra-Orthodox, was much more like obvious. I did not think about it. It was more like the logistics around it that I had to get ready, like you said, coming on time and having cooked and And it was nice. It was still a time that, because everyone else was doing it, but I don't think, also because of my age, probably I did not realize the importance of it. Then when I started leaving the more ultra orthodox world, because I wanted to connect to myself and because I wanted to ask myself the real questions like, what do I really want? Who do I really want to be? How do I really want to serve? What am I doing because of social pressure? And what am I doing because I really believe in? Those were difficult questions that I had to ask myself. And Shabbat, I remember in the beginning, I was really terrified of, just opening the light or doing something that is forbidden. I really felt that it would change my whole life, that something really bad would happen. It was a big, big fear. And so I did it very, very progressively. I did not want to from one day to the next, just change my whole life habits. I also had little kids that were used to some routine, so I didn't want to change that routine. So, but I was very honest and always saying, okay, now I'm going to open my telephone, or now I'm going to open the TV, or now I'm going to open the light. And I did it very progressively so as not to harm myself and not to do things too rash. And the goal was really to feel aligned and I kept the Friday night because that was really important for me. And I also kept some little things that are really in between me and myself. Like I can use the computer on Shabbat, but I'm not going to work on numbers or on money. Like there are some things where I put some boundaries where, I can meet with friends, but I won't talk about work. I'm trying to keep the spirit of the pause and the fact that I want to be able to have a different way of looking at life and looking at the world. And, I don't really travel on Shabbat because the person I live with is yes, keeping Shabbat. So we have a family where he keeps Shabbat. I don't. My son keeps Shabbat. My daughter doesn't. So we accept everyone in their journey, but we also respect everyone. So we're not going to put the music ultra loud, but if we have to do something, so it's really a connection with who we are and how we want to live that progression. Now, about traveling around, like I said, it doesn't matter where we are. We always make a really important the effort to do something on Friday night. And there is something that we love doing is to go to Chabad, wherever we are in the world. And I take this opportunity to thank the Chabad organization, if anyone is listening, because I think they're doing an amazing, amazing job and work. And we always meet very interesting people. And it's a way for us, and it's magical to go to any city in the world and to just pick up a phone or write an email and be able to be for Shabbat or for the holidays, the Chagim, and to be with Jewish people in like 1 minute. You're just in a room full of Jewish people and you don't know them, they don't know you, but you're connected to them. So we love doing that because it's also a way to meet local people. We were just there for Sukkot. We were there also for Rosh Hashanah. I was in Prague for Rosh Hashanah. I was in Rome for Sukkot. And every time I just registered to the Chabad place, and I really, really recommend it. Whether you keep Shabbat or not, it's just a great way to be connected with the Jewish people and with Israelis, because there are more and more Israelis that are in those Chabad houses. So that's what we do.
I love that you shouted out Chabad, because first of all, I'm going there at 11 o'clock because I'm meeting with the rabbi there to have coffee with him. So it's so funny that you brought that up. But Chabad is absolutely amazing. The organization, I think, really changed me as a Jew. Like my Chabad rabbi that I had at college in Maryland, who I still keep in touch with today, and I'm actually trying to actively get him on the podcast, but he's so busy with doing other things. Like Chabad really helps you identify who you are as a Jew. And I think it's such a good medium for people that have had experience being religious, right? Because Chabad, they're obviously religious, but they don't force it on you. They teach you about religion and Judaism and these practices and the meaning behind it. But then when it comes down to it, they're not going to push something onto you, right? And I think for you, Nathalie, you're going back to what you were saying earlier. You're talking about how you didn't want to be forced into anything, right? For your spiritual and religious life, that's so, so important to not be forced into Judaism, right? But for your professional life, you decided, you made the conscious decision that you had a passion for entrepreneurship. Did anybody force you to become an entrepreneur?
Oh,
Or was that just naturally, it came to you?
oh, that's a good question. I just want to say that no one forced me to be ultra Orthodox because it was a choice that I made when I was 17. I became more
Okay.
Orthodox than my family. So it was my family was traditional and I became Orthodox. And so it was a full 100% choice of myself. And then I think I got lost, in the early years of who I really wanted to be, and then when I felt that I was lost, I decided to take a step back. But regarding your question
Sure.
on my professional life, I don't think that anyone can force you to become an entrepreneur. And I'll tell you what, because it's too difficult. It's too difficult of a choice that someone cannot force you to decide to make your own decisions, to be your own boss. And I know that everyone sees being an entrepreneur as being free and having no, hours and being able to work whatever you want and being independent, which is all true. But it's also very, very difficult to self-discipline, to give yourself accountability, to reach your goals, to be responsible for the money that you bring, to live with the uncertainty of how much money you're going to bring from one month to the next, to be alone most of the time until you have a team or until you have more clients. So, I've been working with entrepreneurs for 12 years now. And this is one thing that I know about entrepreneurs is that this is something that people feel chosen to do and not forced to do. It's like a calling. It's something that you say to yourself, either whether it's because I want to make a lot of money, which could be a calling, or because this is something I want to do in the world, or this is the impact I want to have, or the legacy I want to leave, or this is my unique brilliance that I want to share, or those are my gifts that I want. And so it's something that you do because almost you have to, but you're putting yourself in that situation that you have to express something, just like an artist who has to paint. No one can force an artist to paint. It's not going to come out. But yes, there is this this drive and this very, very powerful incentive and motivation to say, to do something outside of the box that is not necessarily a 9-to-5 job. And nothing wrong with 9-to-5 job. I had that for many years as well. And depending on where you are in your life, it could be that this is the right thing for you to do. But I don't think that, to answer your question, I don't think that anyone can force anyone else to become an entrepreneur.
I think you hit it right on. You hit the nail right on the head there. I think because I've interviewed so many entrepreneurs, I can tell you like from learning from them, like entrepreneurship, like it's not something that you just do to like make money, right? Because a lot of entrepreneurs, they go broke, right? The chances of an entrepreneur succeeding is, I think it's pretty slim, depending on where you are in the world and what your niche is. It's very slim. And I think I even saw this statistic, like in 2022 in the United States, there were like 5 million businesses like born or whatever, and they started to they had their first year of business. After 1 year, only 10% of them still existed. It's just like you're not playing the odds game right, technically, but with somebody like you who has a passion for entrepreneurship, right? And obviously this led you to starting Born to Do Business. You clearly found that calling for yourself. So talk to me a little bit about you founding Born to Do Business and how that ignited your entrepreneurial journey.
Sure, I will. I will just say that it's not a matter of statistics, just because I don't want people to be depressed. But when they listen to the numbers, it's really a matter of knowing it. It's going to be a long run game, and that you might
Yep.
fail the first year, but then if you come back with another product, another service, another idea, it's really understanding the idea that you are going to fail, but you are going to come back. And so it's this
Yes.
back and forth that an entrepreneur has to be ready to do. And then if you do come back, then you'll be, in the higher percentages. So it's a long run, but it does work. And I've helped, and I myself consider myself as a successful entrepreneur, and I've helped hundreds of entrepreneurs to become successful. And so it is possible. It's just you have to be ready with the ups and downs. The line is not straight.
Mhm.
The line is more up and down. And if you're ready for this, if you have the resilience or the mindset, and also if you get the help that you need, because it's difficult to do it by yourself, whether it's peers or mentors or whatever, then it's you have a better chance of succeeding. But to answer your question
Mhm.
on the calling and on the born to do business, so it wasn't an easy journey. I'm not going to lie to you, and I'm not going to say yes. Of course, I woke up one day and I had this vision, and then I started doing it, and all the doors open. And if you ever hear someone say that, there's a big chance that they're lying. Because I never really believe in those stories like after the fact where everything was so, obvious and so easy and my calling was so obvious. You have an intuition, clearly. This intuition is something that you have. And you also can see how you are attracted by some things. I actually was so consumed by this need of finding my calling and finding what I call my born to do, because that's why I call the born to do business, that I started doing a lot of research, reading books, going online courses, and then I put up my own personal method of how to find your born to do, how to find your calling, because it was something that I don't do it anymore, but it was something that I did for many years, which was um, helping people that had this intuition, that has had this idea, knowing, is this my born to do? How do I find my born to do? And there are a few things that I learned from there. First of all, there's not one born to do. It's very important to realize that. I don't believe in this one mission that never changes. And if you missed it, you missed your life and this whole big drama around it. I believe that it's something that evolves. It's something that grows with you. And it's something that can change with what you learn, what you see, all the things that in the beginning you don't know that you don't know, that you start seeing and learning, and also with you as a person, in your personal development, in how you push your mindset, how you overcome resistance. So I believe that the born to do is a very, very evolving concept, or the drive, or the calling, or however you call it. And I very often visually talk about the spiral. It's almost like going around the same theme, but at different levels. And then, you start at the bottom, it has a certain meaning, and then you evolve and evolve and you go around, but it's always the same topic or the same theme that evolves with time and with you growing as an entrepreneur, as a person. So it's something that you have to be ready to dance with. Again, it's not something that you write on the wall once and for all and it's never going to move. Something that, also unveils itself when you are ready to see it. So when I started as an entrepreneur, I was very focused on the more consulting aspect, the more strategic aspect, the more like telling you what to do, to be successful in your business. And I did my executive MBA at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem, and I was very consulting focused, very taking myself very seriously. And that was 12 years ago. But when I started doing those strategic consulting missions with whether it was small, medium companies or even solo entrepreneurs, I realized that there was always something that was stopping them from actually implementing the great advice that I had given them. They all agreed that the advice was amazing, but then I would come back a month later and nothing would have moved. So it's like, well, my advice is not really, working. And then this is when I discovered all of the coaching and mindset and resistance and understanding how it's not only, the strategy on paper, but it also has to be aligned with who you are, with your fears, with everything that makes you a human being. That even if you see a great strategy on paper, you're not going to implement it because of those fears. And so that's when I started integrating coaching element in my consulting. And that changed the whole perspective, because that's when I started saying, that's when actually the Born to Do business was born. And I started saying, you need to be aligned with your Born to Do if you want your business to be successful. That's the first rule. And after that, we speak about strategy, we speak about marketing, we speak about finance. But if it's not aligned with who you are, with your unique brilliance, with the impact you want to have in the world, it's not going to work. And it took me time. I think it took me like 5 years to understand that. But then once I understood that, I really focused everything on the Born to Do. And I called my program the Born to Do business. And that was the first thing that I would work on with my clients. Even though I had all the consulting and strategy and all the business expertise, but I started first with the alignment. And until today, that's what I do. I start first with alignment.
That's amazing. And I think, people, I think really have different names for personal branding and personal journey, personal development, et cetera. But I think that what you're talking about, right, with aligning the person with the business, right? I think this goes back into this idea of how you present yourself and what your values are and how that translates into a business. That's so important, right? Because at the end of the day, right, if you are a person that believes in one value, but your business contradicts that, what is making you want to continue to do your business, right? You're going to get burnt out. If your brand, right, if your brand does not align, your personal brand does not align with your business's brand, it doesn't work. I think Nathalie just explained that to us right there. But I want to go back into something you said. You said unique brilliance. I love that term. I saw that on your LinkedIn and how you help people find their unique brilliance. Talk to me about what a unique brilliance is and how do you find that in a person?
That's an amazing question, David. Basically, the unique brilliance is the consequence of the Born to Do. So the Born to Do is you can call it your mission, your vision, your life mission. Your born is, your legacy, the impact you want to have. Like you said, a lot of people have different names for it. But then the unique brilliance is how do you align, the what, the how, and the why. Simon Sinek speaks a lot about that. So if you want, the Born to Do is the why, but the unique brilliance is the how and the what. So how you're going to translate your why, which is the reason you're here, your mission, you're born to do, into the services, the products, the expertise, whatever it is that you sell in your business, has to be coming from your unique brilliance. Now, the definition, the way that I teach and I show my clients unique brilliance is I say it's a very easy way to find out. It's the things, how do you know which things you are uniquely brilliant to do? It's two things. It's the things that you never get tired doing, and it's the things that you would do for free. So, for example, I have a podcast, you have a podcast, right? I didn't monetize my podcast yet, maybe one day, but it's not something that I love doing it. I don't get tired doing it, and I'm doing it for free. Now, of course, it's helping, of course, with my branding, with my marketing, but it's when you see something that you would do for free and that you never get tired doing, that is your unique brilliance. Now, a lot of things are also, there's an exercise that I do with my clients where you put things in different boxes. And one of the boxes is excellence. And people get confused between excellence and unique brilliance. Because, for example, I could be great at teaching, just taking an example, but I do get tired after an hour teaching and I won't do it for free, right? Whereas some other things, I never get tired. So, but I can be amazing. I can be great at teaching. I'm excellent, right? It's not something that I do not well. I do amazing, but yet I still would like to be paid, and I won't do it. I'll get tired after a while. So it's understanding really what are those things that come so easy for you. For example, you are natural at podcasting, right? Some people have to work on it and understand and look, and it's more difficult, right? And so when you do things so organically and so easily that this is your unique brilliance, and then how amazing is it to get paid to do something that you love doing? That's how aligning with your unique brilliance is a strategic advice, not just, do what you love and money will come. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in just, waiting for money to come. I believe in being strategic, but using your unique brilliance is a strategy, because that's when you're not going to get tired of doing things and you're still going to get paid for it.
Wow. This idea of unique brilliance, honestly, has wowed me. And I think the point that you kind of brought up where, your unique brilliance, essentially, in a nutshell, is, if people want to think of it in a monetary lens, what you would do for free. And you brought up an excellent point about podcasting, right? Podcasting is probably one of the least profitable hobbies that anybody could have, right? I don't know about you, Nathalie, but I'm at a loss for, paying for my microphone, for the software, for all this stuff. And then on top of that, all the time that I spend researching my guests, editing my episodes, etc. I'm at a loss for it. But do I care? No, because I love it so much that I would do it not just for free, but also at a loss. Right. So that's that's something that I can tell you right now is a part of my unique brilliance. Yes. And I appreciate you talking about this idea of doing things for free, because so many people are focused in the money and the monetary rewards that come with being an entrepreneur. But it doesn't start. Right. It starts with the free. Yeah. Right. You can't go into it with a mindset of like with this podcast. I didn't go into it with a mindset of okay, I want to make millions of dollars off this podcast. No, I went into this podcast with the mindset of I want to make really, really, really good connections with people, right? That will help me later in life down the road. That is my goal with the podcast. And honestly, I don't think I've ever really shared that on my podcast, but my intent is that I can connect with these amazing Jewish people, but also B, later in life, hopefully they can help me and mentor me in some aspect, right? I consider all my guests to be a mentor in some way, shape, or form, which I think is another topic that we can get into. But the point of this, right, is that as an entrepreneur, you got to do things for free. You got to do things maybe that don't generate really crazy revenue. And for you founded a nonprofit that focuses on Jewish women that are entrepreneurs and leaders. It's amazing to me that your business focuses on Jewish women that are entrepreneurs, but also you have this nonprofit that has over 2,000 members from 20 different countries, right? I want you to talk about why after you founded Born to Do Business, it wasn't enough for you. You needed to make this nonprofit happen.
I love what you said before, and I will answer your question. And I think that I will add to the free aspect. When you spoke about the podcast, your podcast, I would add the authenticity. Because being free, you can do a lot of things for free, and it doesn't mean that it's the right thing, right? But the fact that you are authentic and that we can feel it when you hear what you're doing now is being you, is being in your unique brilliance. This is what I mean. I don't mean not to monetize your podcast at any point, or down the road, because yes, it is a very smart thing to do to monetize a podcast. But the way that you're getting into it in organically and with authenticity is what is going to make the difference. between someone who starts like you with very you're so authentic. Like when you say, I want to talk to about Jewish, how to be proud Jews, that is really who you are. And you start like this. That's the how, and it's connected to your why. And then down the line, you'll find a way to monetize it. And the difference with someone who starts it with the goal of making money and says, okay, what is working right now? Oh, Jews is trendy now. Okay, so let me do a podcast on Jews because it's going to make money. People feel the goal behind it. People feel the reason, and that's why the success, the true success, not only measured by money, but measured by alignment, by impact, and by money too. Let's not forget, we also need to make money, right? But it's a holistic success that is going to, happen. I think much. It's more sure that it's going to happen when you start from authenticity, alignment, and organically. So having said that, my story with the nonprofit is also a very organic story. It's not a strategic decision that I made sitting down at the table with my business advisor saying, hey, how can I make more money? Let's open a nonprofit so that we can get, no, it didn't happen like that. It happened really organically, actually during COVID. During COVID, people were stuck home. It was 4 years ago, 2020. I started with a challenge, which you're probably familiar with. A lot of coaches do challenges online. It was a strategy to get people to get more leads, to generate more leads, to have more people in my Facebook group. But it was more at the time of COVID, a way to be able to give an answer to, I had at the time 700 people in my Facebook group. And I just felt the desperation of people being at home, not knowing what to do. And I was also desperate. The truth is, I was also at home, not knowing what to do. And so I took upon myself, because one thing about when you do things for your clients, you also do it for yourself. So it's very interesting that, me doing this challenge was also putting myself in a position where I had to also do the challenge. And this challenge was for 21 days to interview, just like you're doing now, inspiring people, mostly women, but I did have some men, because my strategic decision to focus on Jewish women came after the challenge. But I had a lot of inspiring people that first shared their expertise, and also spoke about how they were overcoming this challenge of being an entrepreneur and being at home and being afraid for, no one had any head to do business or to sell or to buy. It was a very special time where also people wanted to help each other. There's a lot of community support. And so I started this really because I felt that the people around me, my clients, people who were following me, needed that. And so we had a live every morning, and people started to grow organically, becoming viral. People started sending me messages saying how I'm saving their lives, how they would not get up, from bed in the morning if they didn't have the live to go to, how they would get dressed just for the live, how they would. And so I started seeing the impact of this, which was very organic. And I said, to the people who were following, was like a few hundred people were following. There was no money involved. There was nothing. It was just like, let's get together every day. And then, I said, let's do a Zoom party to close the 21 days challenge. So it was a lot of fun because we did a real party. Like I asked people to dress up with cocktail dresses, to come with champagne glasses, to put shoes on. I actually checked that everyone had shoes on because it was a big thing in Corona that you came without shoes. So women were like with their high heels and their pearls and makeup. And actually people, they enjoyed it because no one was going out at the time.
Right.
And we had this amazing, I bought balloons. So I had balloons and we had music and we danced. It was, a Zoom party. And at the end I said, well, that's it. It's goodbye. And everyone said, no, it's not goodbye. We want to continue. And I said, okay, what do you want? They said, well, we want to continue meeting. And so that's how it started. 4 years ago, we started meeting once a month on Zoom. And that's when it started to really have this big impact. I realized that I really wanted to serve Jewish women. I love men. Don't get me wrong. I'm nothing against men. But there was something about the alignment with, my journey, with what my unique brilliance, with my mission, And we can talk about that, what I think that, will really help heal the world, the feminine energy. And so I made this bold decision, which was not easy because we did have a few men and I did have to send them an email. I remember feeling really, really weird about that, saying, I'm sorry, but I'm doing, a monthly call, but you are not invited. Most of them reacted well. There was one or two who, didn't appreciate, which I understand. But it really came from a place of, I want to be able to have a safe space for women to be themselves, not because we don't want men, but because we want to be only with women. And so we started meeting once a month, and there was no idea of nonprofit at the time. It was just a Zoom meeting with networking. So I started structuring the calls with breakout rooms and with guests and with 1-minute presentation and follow up, which for me it was an effort because you do have to organize the Zoom and invite the people once a month. But I was like, okay, it's a lead generation. It's bringing people onto the platform. But then at the time, it started to be a lot of work. And on my team, I had like 2 people in my team that were, one with the promotion, the other one with all the technical behind the scene. So I started asking myself, well, maybe I want to monetize this. Maybe I want to start asking people to pay for, their, coming. I think it was after 2 years of doing this every month, I started to see, how to monetize this. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel right to monetize it. There was something so, how do you say? It's like if you ask money from your family, from people in your, it felt wrong because it was so natural and organic. And people, especially Jewish women from around the world, because we have right now like a good majority from Israel, Anglos from Israel, and like the rest, like almost like 45% from across from the 20 countries that you spoke about. And it was their connection to their Jewish identity, to other Jewish women. It was something else was going on. And that's when I said, you know what? This is not a business. This is a nonprofit. This is me allowing this space for women to connect to their Jewish identity, to connect to other Jewish women, to connect to the Jewish people. And I felt that it wasn't supposed to be only on my shoulders. Like my shoulders were too small for this. It was a bigger mission that other organizations, federations, maybe government needed to also be part of so that we really do something great. It wasn't just, and it still isn't just women entrepreneurs networking. Something else much bigger was happening. And I didn't feel like it was my business or my property. It was more like I'm facilitating it, but it has to be carried by bigger people, bigger shoulders. And the goal is, the vision is much bigger than what we expected in the beginning. So that's how it became a nonprofit, so that there wouldn't be any. So I'm not saying that I don't want donations or, that I won't get paid for the nonprofit at some point. Right now, it's been voluntarily the whole thing. Like I still didn't get the donations. We're still waiting for answers. And if I do get some down the line, I hope I'll be able to hire to pay myself, for my work. But the goal is not to make a profit. The goal is to give a salary to people who work, which right now are all volunteering, in order for all of us together to reach that goal and that vision. So that's how it happened.
This is amazing. Just everything you're saying about how it's starting to you realizing that you couldn't charge people for it. Like that is unbelievable. And I think it just tells other people like how much you really care and how much, your soul really cares about helping other Jewish women, entrepreneurs and leaders. And you have such an amazing story, Nathalie. And I know we're running out of time, but I want to get to one final question.
Yes.
So as a Jewish entrepreneur, we have so many things that we're balancing, right? We're balancing Shabbat. We're balancing Jewish customers for you, right? We're balancing aligning our business with the values of Judaism, right? And this all ties into personal branding. So, Nathalie, for you specifically, as a Jewish entrepreneur, what is one of the most important aspects of your personal brand?
Okay. When you are a Jewish entrepreneur, and I would add woman, because there is something specific about being a woman entrepreneur, you have to be ready if you want to be able to talk about your Jewishness, your womanhood into your brand. You have to be able to accept that you are going to have to be vulnerable, that you are going to have maybe more questions than answers, that you might even get insulted online because of your Jewishness, especially now. I mean, it was true. It was always true, but I think now it has reached some, really extreme polarization that we all know. But I think that this decision of being open, and I have a lot of clients that are not openly Jewish online or, with their clients. They don't need to be. It's not their business. They're selling, I don't know, products online. They don't need to say that they're Jewish.
Right.
And of course, since October 7th, this questions has been, raised many times as to whether or not saying that we're Jewish, as to answering posts or commenting or, reporting to social media. Everyone is my answer to that is everyone. It's a case by case. There's no answer that you can say, yes, of course, go online, or no, never go. It really needs to be a case by case. But on a personal level, with your personal brand, it's really, I remember the first time that I had to change my website, my About Us, to say that I was working with Jewish women, and it was before October 7th and everything. It was, like I said, it was like, we're talking now 4 years ago, like, when the global network was born. And I remember this pinch in my stomach saying, am I going to say, obviously, to the whole world that I'm Jewish, and that I felt like I was coming out of the closet. I felt like it was a real declaration, even though I live in Israel, even though most of the people I work with know I'm Jewish, still, and I can only imagine when you live in France or in the US, coming out and saying, I'm Jewish and I'm working with Jewish people. First of all, you have to make sure that it's safe. That's the first thing. Like, don't do it if you're not sure it's safe. But if it is safe and if this is what you want to do, then you have to be ready to be vulnerable, and you have to be able to talk about, from your truth. And you have, again, to be able to say, I have more questions than answers. My last post, which was, I think, a week ago, I posted since then, but my last heartfelt, authentic post was about how I could not post anymore on social media, how I didn't know what to say anymore. And because of everything that's happening. And I was sitting in front of my computer and I didn't know what to write, what to say. People are dying. We're still at war. There's still hostages. We have, it wasn't then, but since then we've had a crazy anti-Semitic attacks. I was like, I don't know what to say. And this is what I wrote. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to write. So being Jewish, I think, is really, in your brand, is really about being connected to that part of yourself, staying authentic, and accepting that it's going to be very vulnerable.
I love that. I love that you talk about this idea of vulnerability and staying true to yourself, being authentic. And, we started this podcast talking about your Jewish background. We ended talking about Jewish background and personal branding, which I love when that happens. So, Nathalie, before we officially end the episode, where can people find you on social media?
They can find the Global Network for Jewish Women Entrepreneurs and Leaders is a Facebook group. They can find me on LinkedIn, Nathalie Garson, with an H and an S, I should say. There's an H in Nathalie, there's an S in Garson. You can definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's the platform that I'm the most active. And if you are a Jewish women entrepreneur, then you can definitely join our Facebook group. Again, look for Global Network for Jewish Women Entrepreneurs and Leaders, and join us for our next meetup, because, you can come as a guest for free. And we would love to have even more Jewish women entrepreneurs joining our sisterhood.
Absolutely. And make sure to, I know maybe Nathalie won't plug her own
Oh, well,
podcast, but
yeah, you can
make sure
also,
you're
yeah,
following her podcast.
listen to the Jewish Women Entrepreneurs podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast. Definitely, you can connect there and listen to the podcast. Yes.
Yes. Listen to the podcast, guys. Nathalie's absolutely amazing wealth of information. I mean, I just learned what my unique brilliance is on this episode. So I can only imagine what it's like actually working with Nathalie and being there with her. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Make sure we're following the show. Share this episode with somebody. I know there's a lot of Jewish women entrepreneurs out there, Jewish women that are aspiring to be entrepreneurs. So share it with them. Until next time, keep schmoozing.